Disputes are most of the common conflicts in Africa, especially Nigeria, given that land has a very high economic, social, and cultural value. As development and land uses and land use increases, dispute over ownership, boundaries, and land use right are increasingly common. Mediation as a method in resolving conflicts out of the court has been recognized as fast, cost-effective, and more efficient method of resolving often complex and sensitive land conflicts. Here are example of common land dispute. Boundary disputes, for example, where maybe a neighbor disagree about where one person's land ends and where another person's own begins. Maybe two families argue over a fence built beyond the legal boundary lines. Is a dispute. Ownership dispute is another common land dispute, where when two or more people claim ownership of the same piece of land. A land sold by one family member is later claimed by another who says the same was illegal. Another common land dispute is inheritance dispute. Inheritance dispute. This is an example where family members they encroach, like family members quarrel over past inheritance after someone's death. For example, children of the deceased father fight over how to divide maybe a farmland, tenancy, or landlord dispute. When tenants and landlord disagree about land use, rent, or evasions, is a common land dispute. Community versus government dispute. When the government acquires land for public project but the community challenges the compensation or the legality behind that. Customary versus statutory ownership dispute. When traditional landowners under the customary law clashes with those holding government issued land titles. Maybe a chief sells community land that another person already registered with the government. Is a land problem. This dispute. Encroachment dispute is another one. When someone unlawfully occupies part of another person's land. Maybe a neighbor builds a house that extends into another person's property. When disagreement over land should be used, this is land dispute. Maybe a residential community opposes the establishment of a factory nearby. Now, here is a real example of land dispute in Nigeria, a real life issue. For example, family and inheritance dispute. Maybe a member of an extended family may fight over a farmland inherited from their late father, with someone selling portion without another person's consent. Is a problem. Boundary dispute between communities. The long-standing boundary dispute between communities. One of them is in Osho State. If we look boundary dispute where both sides claim ownership of overlapping farmland. Land ownership dispute in urban areas is another challenging land dispute in Nigeria. For example, in Lagos, two people buy the same plot of land from different land sellers, leading to a conflicting ownership claim. Is a problem. Government acquisition dispute. Maybe, for example, in Abuja or maybe in Port Harcourt, landowners challenge government acquisition for housing estate or road project, claiming poor or no compensation. Farmer herders conflict is another land dispute common to Nigeria. For example, in Benue State and Plateau State here in Nigeria, farmers clash with the herders for destroying their crops and occupying the farmland, leading to violent clashes every day. Also, there is customary versus the statutory ownership conflict. A village somewhere, maybe in that state in Nigeria, claim ancestral land, but an individual presents a certificate of occupancy issued by state government over the same area. So what will happen is a dispute. Encroachment, trespass dispute on lands. Maybe a neighbor extend fence or build a structure that crosses another person's registered property. It's a problem of land dispute. Oil producing area dispute over a land. Maybe Niger Delta in Nigeria, where we have the oil-rich communities. Community dispute over land ownership with oil companies over compensation for drilling and pollution damage. It's a problem of land dispute. Maybe landlord-tenant farmland dispute. A tenant farmer in somewhere refuses to vacate land after his lease or her lease expires, claiming he improves the land and deserves continued use. It's a problem. Dispute over communal land says maybe a village chief says part of the community land, without the consent of the elders or community members is a problem. So the role of mediation in land dispute is very important because it helps to resolve conflict peacefully, fairly, and quickly without going to the court or using the litigation. So how will mediation play a role in land dispute matters? One of them is peaceful resolution. Mediation promotes dialogue between the parties involved, helping them to reach an agreement without violence or long court battles. Mediation preserves relationship. Since land disputes often involve family members, neighbors, communities, mediation helps to maintain good relationship and mutual respect. It's cost and time efficient. Mediation is faster. Mediation is cost effective than taking land matters to the court, which can drag for years and even involve high legal cost fees. Mediation gives land dispute customized solutions. Mediators help parties facilitate the process, and parties create solutions that meet their specific need and interest, which court may not always provide. Mediation and land dispute help to reduce court backlog cases. By resolving dispute with mediation reduces the number of cases in the judicial system and making mediation an access to justice by all. Mediation promotes fair mediation promotes justice and fairness. Mediation gives both parties equal opportunity to express their view, ensuring fairness and understanding in decision making. Mediation encourages voluntary compliance. Remember, agreements reached through the mediation are often respected and followed because parties are the ones who determine the outcome in the mediation. They participated in creating the solutions. Mediation helps in community harmony and development. In rural communities settings, for example, mediation support peace, unity, development by preventing land conflict from escalating further. Mediation, yes, is widely used in land disputes in Nigeria. It's for you to discover if it's being used in your own country. In many Nigerian communities, traditional leaders, elders, community heads act as mediators in land matters. They use dialogue, negotiations to settle boundary issues, inheritance dispute, and ownership conflict. Also in Nigeria, there is the court-connected mediation, the multi-door court house system, introduced in several states in Nigeria like Lagos State, Abuja, Enugu, provide formal mediation services for land and property disputes before or during the court proceedings. There is government and NGO involvement. Agencies such as the Lagos State Citizen Mediation Center and other ADRO centers across the country uses mediation to settle land disputes between individuals, families, and communities. The legal framework for mediation, the Arbitration and Mediation Act of 2023, and various various high court civil procedures rule support the use of mediation as an alternative to litigation in civil disputes, including those involving lands. So there's a legal framework backing up mediation. Because court cases about land can take years and cause community tensions. Mediation offers faster, cheaper, and more peaceful solution. Yes, mediation is used in various cases, especially civil cases, and is an effective method for resolving land dispute through dialogue, mutual agreement, and community peace. So it's very important. Most people argue, what about the enforceability of mediation? If mediation have a legal framework that backs up, it's enforceable also. The most important thing is learning to resolve dispute in an amicable way, and land matter is not left out. Land dispute conflict that involve lands is not left out, because land is a very important aspect of humans. Every day we need it for various purposes. So when dispute arises in the land, how do we go about it? Mediation is there for all and is an access to justice by all.